today we are fighting Leachy09, and he is in fact a viewer of the channel. He actually sent me a Discord DM to battle. So if you guys want to battle me, you can also DM me on Discord. That's probably the easiest way to get that done, and we can sort something out. But anyways, let's do a rundown of his team. So the first thing that I noticed is his team is very special oriented, other than that Lucario, and it's not a fun team. He has 2 Ubers, and overall just a very powerful threatening team. Not something that you can, not something that you want to be, what would be the word? You have to be very cautious, if that's the right way to put it. So we started in with Superior, and I didn't want to give him a chance to start setting up the Leaf Storm, so I went right into Volcarona. And the good thing about Volcarona is that I can still probably one-shot it if I need to with my Z move. And he went for Taunt, so I think he was expecting a Stop Rock, and it's good that he did that instead of attacking. So I wasn't sure what to do, because it's pretty obvious now that I have to attack because he taunted me, so it's most likely that he's gonna switch out. So my play was to go back into Excadrill. I was predicting the Rotom Heat, I'd say, but he goes into Toxapex, and that's also great. It gives me the opportunity to go for a setup, even an Earthquake if need be, because Earthquake from Excadrill is so powerful, it will always one-shot Toxapex. That's what I love about Excadrill. It's just meant to break walls on the right read. So it looks like right here I went for the Stop Rock, and he goes into Mana Buzz, which is really just a hard counter to Excadrill. Even though my Rock Slide is not going to do any damage, and if he roosts, then he can just lose his Flying type, and my Rock Slide just it's not worth staying in, especially because of the set he runs, which you guys will see in a bit. So I go into Sableye because I want to get off my Mega Evolution when given a chance, and I was also thinking that if I Mega Evolve, I could get the Magic Bounce to stop his Defog. Although I soon found out later on in the battle that's not going to be a tactical strategy. And this time with Sableye, I've ran a different set with Taunt and Will-O-Wisp rather than Foul Play and Will-O-Wisp, because I wanted to mix it up a bit, because sometimes on some teams Foul Play is completely useless, and this would have been one of those teams because there is no physical attacker, and the one physical attacker that there is resists Dark type, so I figured Taunt would be a good move to have in case. Probably not the best though. If I had Knockoff or if I had Toxic instead of Will-O-Wisp, that probably would have been better, but it is what it is. And unfortunately I do get paralyzed by the Discharge, which I thought was really going to cost me in this game, because Sableye is pretty key for a lot of matchups, and not having him in good condition is terrible, although it is far better than getting Toxic or Will-O-Wisp on Sableye in my opinion. So he goes for the attacks, and I'm glad I stayed in, because the problem with Rotom Heat is I can't really switch into anything, so I had to stay in and take those hits. My team is just not built to take Rotom Heat. Like Rotom Heat, Shaman, Venusaur, those are just really hard counters to my team. So anyways, he does go into Superior, and I find that the time to switch back into Volcarona. And the excellent thing about Volcarona is it's just so good at these types of matchups. Like you could set it in and it's just so threatening on the spot, because even if it can't wall break something, it has that Z move that can give it the extra power it needs. So he goes into Lugia, and I'm tempted to keep setting up, but I don't want to get Toxic, so I go into Sableye, and I'm able to cut him off that time, which is probably a good play because you want the Lugia to be Toxic. But I don't know if that was a terrible idea though, because I could have maybe set up. I'm not sure how that would have worked. This is not multi-scale though, but I would still think I still would think it's not worth the risk, because I don't know how bulky the Lugia is, so losing Volcarona that early is never a great idea, or at least even just getting it crippled. So I put Stop Rocks up again, and this time I was trying to unfold my master plan of defogging or magic bouncing as defog, but then I realized that it still works even with that, which is unfortunate to say the least. So now I realize that that strategy just won't work anymore, and I probably want to get a Pokemon that's good at countering Mana Buzz, so I can keep stopping him from doing a defog. Like if I had like Prankster, or if I had more Pokemon with Taunt, that would be good, because Mana Buzz really can't deal direct damage unless it has a Brave Bird in my opinion. So it would be good for that type of setup. But now I have to decide what I want to do. but he switches out. I get into recover because I want to keep my Sableye in good condition at all times, and that worked out pretty well. And the good thing about Volcarona, and even just keeping it in the game, is that it can counter Serperior every time. So you have to really think ahead. Like if you want to win the battle, you want to keep Volcarona in good condition so it can still react to a lot of things. Because Volcarona, in my opinion, is one of my key Pokemon here if I want to win. So he goes into Rotom Heat. It took some time to process, and I actually figured it's still worth staying in because I don't really have anything that can stay into Rotom Heat. And with Quiver Dance, I'm actually able to take its hits pretty well. I can roost, and then I can stall it out, which is good. And he goes into Lugia here, which is not good. If there was Thought Rock up, I might have just directly attacked, even used my Z move there, but I didn't see it worded, so I decided not to do that. It was tempting though. I was really considering it, but Lugia is already crippled, and there is no reason to really have to get it out this early. So, you know, I decided it's going to be better to switch out before it can, you know, set up. And even then, he has Toxapex, and I don't think Volcarona can break through Toxapex without the Z move. So, you know, I had to resist the temptation and switch out into something else. Although, once again, it was very tempting, but I'm glad I didn't do that. Now, thinking about it, it would have been a bad idea. So, right here, I immediately go into Sableye. So even if he goes for Aeroblast, Sableye is still going to take all Lugia's hits really well. I could then recover if need be. But there's not too much more I can do back to the Lugia. If I had knockoff, it would have been excellent. Because half his team they don't want to have to switch into knockoff. So that would have been pretty good in this battle, although I did not have that with me. He goes into Serperior. I go back into Excadrill, I guess predicting the Aeroblast and trying to get in another opportunity at the Stop Rocks, or even just a free Earthquake, because Earthquake even on Pokemon like Serperior that resist it will still do pretty high damage. But you don't want to send Excadrill into Serperior because it's just a dangerous Pokemon. You don't want to give it any chances to set up if you can stop it. So he goes for the Taunt, and right here I'm expecting the Rotom Heat switch in, because that's really just the best check to Volcarona. But he goes into Toxapex instead, which is also good because Toxapex does have Regenerator, so it's that type of Pokemon you can just throw into hits, and that's what I like about it, because you can afford to make bad predictions and still be fine, because Toxapex isn't going to be eliminated instantly. That's just how good a Regenerator of an ability is on it. So he goes into Rotom here. I get my Recover off, which is good. So now Sableye is in good condition. Although now I really want to start to, I guess, like run his Rotom Heat down, because it's been in the battle for a pretty long time, and it only has a few overheats it can use, like I believe 5. So I'm trying to make some predictions to start making it waste its overheats, because I have nothing to really counter it. So I go into Milotic hoping for the overheat, but he just goes for Discharge, which is unfortunate. But you know, Milotic still can take it. Toxapex can take electric type move too. Not as well as Milotic, but pretty good too. So I go back into Toxapex, and I can afford to take damage because Toxapex really isn't even doing anything in this battle at this very moment. So then I go into Volcarona, and he goes into Wall Switch instead. So, you know, he had potential to be really dangerous with that, I'm not gonna lie. He was just getting momentum. There was nothing I could really switch into comfortably. But he goes into Toxapex. I go back into my own Toxapex because no matter what he does, nothing is going to be dangerous for my current Toxapex. But then he gets the Burn, which is, I'd say, close to, it's not as bad as Paralysis, but it's not at all a good thing, because now my Toxapex is crippled and his isn't. So he has a bit of an advantage when we have that matchup. So I think about it. So I don't know how many hits I can take before Toxapex will actually get into dangerous levels of HP. So that prompts me to want to switch into Tangrowth and finally give it a reason to exist in this game, because it can actually resist the Scouts. The only thing it doesn't want to take is the Toxic, but I wanted to Sleep Powder it and status it, but unfortunately that fails, as you guys can see. So I just don't have good luck with the Sleep Powder move. That's just how it is. But now I'm prompted to go into Knockoff, because at least I can get an item off one Pokemon, and he goes into Lucario, and surprisingly it turns out the Knockoff actually works according to him, because he can't Mega Evolve anymore. I'm not sure how that works. I don't know. I don't know why that's a feature in this game, because you shouldn't be able to knock off Mega Stones. But you know, this game is messed up after all. That's why I can't run Chansey. So I have to go into Toxapex, which is one of my favorite Pokemon. I got it to counter 3 Pokemon. It's a perfect counter to Mimikyu, Aegislash, and Lucario. And Lucario specifically because it resists both stabs. And adaptability Lucario it can't really break through Toxapex comfortably, and I can just haze to deny all his stat boosters. So that's why I love using Toxapex so much. It's probably gonna be a staple Pokemon in my team because of just how good it is. So he unfortunately just can't do any damage, and you can see his HP slowly fading away. And with this Lucario, there is no recovery, and it doesn't look like he has any Wish Pokemon either. So every little bit of damage is a ticking time bomb on the life of that Lucario. So I can afford to really just stall him out and just, you know, use up his turns. But he has to be decisive at how he attacks. And he goes into Superior here, and this is where I go into Walkerona. I suppose this was me trying to switch in so I could get a setup, but him going to Superior was actually excellent because now I have another good matchup, and I have Walkerona in a dangerous position. And now the prediction was that he was going to go Taunt, and I went for the Bug Buzz, predicting that he was going to predict me going for the Quiver Dance, and that was Superior eliminated from the game. And according to him, that's what he thought was his main way of winning this game, because without Walkerona, Superior would just clean sweep through everything, especially with that Stab, Life Orb, Leaf Storm. But you know, Superior now was eliminated from the game because of that prediction. So he goes into Lucario. But you know, the thing is, unfortunately, even though I get Lucario out of this game, he still has Rotom Heat, which I really can't do much against unless I get lucky, because Rotom Heat is not only tanky, but it does crazy high damage with its Overheat and its electric moves, which most of my team is weak to, which is exactly why at some point later on I'm going to be making some changes, because I have too many water types, too many share types in my opinion. But you know, now his Lucario, once again you can see it is running on low HP, so I decided to go into Walkerona, I guess because I can take whatever he has, and I wanted to set up. He goes into Close Combat, which is a resisted attack. I really didn't need to do this, but I wanted to get Walkerona in the game because, you know, that's a Pokemon I know I can definitely switch into because of the burn and everything. So even if he goes for a non-stab Shadow Claw, it's not going to do any damage. So he goes into Lugia, and I go into Excadrill because even if he goes Air Blast or Toxic, it's not going to matter because Excadrill can basically just tank or resist both. It's not even affected by Toxic. So here, I'm not sure what to do. I decided to go into Rock Slide because I wanted to see how much damage it would do against Mandibuzz, and that is abysmal damage. So I set up the Stout Rock while he goes for the Roost, and then I switch out knowing that he's gonna go Defog next turn, so I can put Walkerona in there to, you know, because it's a safe switch in. Now, if I predicted that wrong, I don't know if I could have actually lived that. So if he goes for his, you know, his attack, which you guys will see later in the game, it's not going to be great. But then he goes for Toxic, and I completely forgot that he had that. I don't know what happened with me there. That was sheer stupidity at that. But now I had to go back into Excadrill, and you can see the payback attack that he has does nasty high damage. I didn't know Mandibuzz could do that much damage, but I guess it's because it's Stab and all that. So I go into Melodic because I predict him going for the Defog, and I get the competitive boost, which actually makes me want to keep competitive, because even though Marvel Scale is a great ability, competitive is just something else. Because right here you can see, because of the competitive ability, I do massive damage to Lugia, and I go for Scald once again. He has Thunderbolt, which I did not expect as his last move. I thought he would have had Ice Beam, but no, he has Thunderbolt, and that's exactly the move that he was hiding away, because I was like, what is his last move? I didn't know, but now I know it's Thunderbolt. So he goes into Rotom. Now I'm willing to sacrifice my Melodic because it's done what it needed to do. It's taken out the Lugia, and you know, I don't want to switch anything into a Rotom Overheat or even Electric Attack. So I'm going to sacrifice my Melodic here. I take one last look to see what I could potentially switch out to, and there is nothing that needs to switch into any of Rotom's moves. So, you know, I figured it's finally time to part ways with Milotic, and I go for Scald, but then he goes for Overheat. I think he was trying to make a prediction, and because of the competitive boosted Scald, I'm able to take out Rotom from the game, which basically wins it. Like that at that point, that was I'd say his main way to victory. But because of that prediction, I guess it wasn't even really a prediction. I was ready to sack that Milotic, but I guess it was a failed prediction more than, you know, me predicting him. But he goes for the I forgot, but you know, now I'm thinking, well, now I may as well keep Milotic in the game. It can't do anything against Toxapex, so it's a hopeless effort to stay in. I may as well use it against Mandibuzz when I can. So I go into Sableye. He goes for the Scald. So right here, I go for the Taunt. I want to shut off his Toxapex, because the Toxapex, it only has Scald as its attacking move. So if I can shut it off, then I can create a lot more opportunities of switching. So he goes into Mandibuzz. I'm able to get the Taunt off, and then I have to go back into Tangrowth. So Sableye here is really the best Pokemon, I'd say, in this overall total matchup, because it can basically take out both Pokemon, the Toxapex and the Mandibuzz, and because it has the Will-O-Wisp status condition, it's not going to take massive damage every turn. So that's the main reason to why it can last so long. So I go into Tangrowth because it really doesn't have much of a purpose here. So I'm willing to just throw it into hits, and you know, because it has the Regenerator ability, I can really just throw it around and do whatever. That's why I like Regenerator so much, because it's a type of ability that gives you a bit more leniency. You don't have to be spot on with every read or move, because you can always just get back a lot of HP that you lost when you switch out. So I go for Scald. At this point, I'm not sure how I want to take out the Toxapex, and I don't want to choke this battle either. So I'm trying to take this slow and steady as to not make any mistakes. He goes for the Scald. So I'm thinking, I guess I'm trying to attack here. I'm not sure what the plan is. Probably trying to get a knockoff. I predict him going for the Protect anyways, but he goes for Recover instead, which is also fine. That gives me the opportunity to go for the Taunt. He goes into Mandibuzz, which is also fine, but now he's only allowed to go for Payback. So I'm thinking, well, who do I want to switch in here? Because I could go into Tangrowth, and then I could go for the Sleep Powder on him. Could even get the knockoff. There are a lot of things I can do to this Mandibuzz, knowing that it doesn't have Brave Bird on it. Now, if it had Brave Bird on it, then that would be a different story. I don't know how this battle would have turned out, because Volcarona couldn't even gone into the Mandibuzz in the first place. But you know, I go for the Toxic on his Toxapex, and I guess I was trying to get it on the Mandibuzz, because at least I could put it on a ticking time bomb. Because with Toxic, after a while, let's say I take out the Toxapex, then his Mandibuzz only has a few turns before it itself will go down. He can't use Roost Stalling. So here I forgot what I went for. I think I went for the Giga Drain just to test the waters and see how much damage it does. And the good thing about Pokemon like Mandibuzz and Toxapex, even though they have secondary stabs that would have been dangerous, but because they're mostly stalled, they have to run one stab move at most. So because it's not the right stab move, I could really get a positive matchup with Pokemon like Tangrowth that wouldn't normally have it against that type matchup. But let's see. So he goes into Toxapex. I'm trying to find a way to get in Volcarona, by the way, at this point, because Volcarona has the potential to win the game, because it can basically break through Mandibuzz, not necessarily Toxapex as much, but it can really set up on Toxapex and then potentially just destroy Mandibuzz. But yeah, for that reason, I'm trying to figure out how I can get Volcarona into the game. So I guess I predicted a Protect here, but he goes for Recover again, which is also fun. And that gives me the opportunity to set up the Quiver Dance. And I guess my plan here was to then go for the, what do you call it, the Savage Spin Out, and just do as much damage as I could, so then I can take out Toxapex with the Excadrill or whatever else I wanted to switch into. And that really would have not been the best strategy, but I just wanted to get this game over with. I probably still could have afforded to lose Excadrill and Volcarona but still win, because I just had the numbers of Pokemon. Like I had Toxapex and Sableye, which in itself would be enough to secure a victory in my opinion, because Sableye has a good matchup against both Mandibuzz and Toxapex, and Toxapex can just switch in and out because of Regenerator. So can Tangrowth at that too. So he goes into Mandibuzz, I go into Tangrowth. This gives me the opportunity to go for the the sleep powder, but then I miss it. I don't know why, or I didn't miss it. It just doesn't affect his mana buzz. I don't understand that. I don't know if that's an ability, like I don't know. I wouldn't say overcoat, because I just don't know why that doesn't affect mana buzz. Maybe he already had some sort of status that I didn't see. I don't know. So, you know, he goes back into Toxapex, same matchup as before. Looks like right here, at this point, I'm trying to just stall him out. I'm not sure how I want to get into this, like how I want to just take home this win. Because once again, this is still anyone's battle, if not treated appropriately. If I'm not cautious here, I could still even lose it, even with this 6 Pokemon lead. But, I go into Sableye, he goes into Scald. I want to get the taunt off, because really, Toxapex is useless without its recovery and its protect. So, I'm able to get that off, and that gives me the opportunity to switch into Volcarona, because I can take his Scouts and then I can set up. And he goes into Mana Buzz, which is fine. He goes for the payback, which does really high damage. So if he had Brave Bird, that would be the end of Volcarona a lot earlier on through the battle. The Mana Buzz does do a lot of damage, surprisingly. So I go for the Savage Spin out. I hope it takes it out. And lucky for me, it is just enough to take out the Mana Buzz. Volcarona dies from poison, but that gives me the opportunity to send in Excadrill. And this is exactly why you want to keep Excadrill in the game at all times, because this is enough to secure my victory over the Toxapex. So yeah, that's GG.